Hi, everyone. This is Phil Travis, and it's our final week here in the 60s class. This week, we are going to talk more about the rise of conservatism as a political movement. I have a reading that I'm posting in Canvas for you this week. It's about Nixon to Reagan and the rise of the modern conservative movement, which, of course, has carried a tremendous amount of political weight in the United States ever since. Um, the period from the New Deal and the Great Depression through the 1970s is generally considered the period of New Deal liberalism. It's the period that produced Medicare, Medicaid, the minimum wage, Social Security, the legalization, legitimizing of unions, organizations like OSHA to protect workers' safety, the EPA to protect the environment. We're all a product of the era of New Deal liberalism. Since the 70s and 80s, particularly following the rise of the presidency of Ronald Reagan, and of course, this is related to the 60s because the conservative movement really begins in the 60s, particularly with the election of Nixon. The conservative movement became a movement that sort of brought together groups from religious groups, religious conservatives, economic conservatives who were libertarians, states' rights advocates, and so forth, kind of congealed together in the conservative movement. And the conservative movement since has really shaped American government policies since then to a significant degree. And so it's a highly significant development in American history, and we will be reading about that this week. I also have a documentary I want to show you. The documentary will probably be about the final end of the Vietnam War, though I'm still debating which documentary I want to show you. So it might not be that, but I'm leaning that way. But there is a documentary film I want you to watch this week. I want to, make your last week in this class hopefully a fun way to end the week as you work on finishing those projects. If you haven't finished them and turned them in already, I'm going to extend the deadline for the projects to the 9th this week. And so if you haven't finished those and turned them in, you can get them finished this week and get them in. And I really look forward to grading them, and I really look forward to seeing them. I think that's about it this week. Just remember, we do have a final exam. I will make the final exam available on Wednesday, and I'll leave it open until Tuesday during exam week. So reading, discussion forum, the exam will open on Wednesday. You'll have till Tuesday to take it. I'll put a little study guide up there with it as well, like I did last time. And I'll have a little documentary film for you as well. The factoid for this week is this. In the final hours of the Vietnam War, Congress passed something called the War Powers Resolution. And the War Powers Resolution was an act by Congress. Many constitutional scholars have argued it might actually be unconstitutional. But the War Powers Resolution was an act passed by Congress that was designed to limit the power of the executive branch when it came to making war. The Vietnam War was a conflict in which the Congress back in 1964, under Lyndon Johnson's presidency, had passed the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. It was a loose resolution that allowed the president to use force militarily in the region in the national security interests of the United States. But because it was a loose resolution, Lyndon Johnson and then Richard Nixon were able to expand the conflict to a really major scope. 500,000 troops, more bombs dropped than all of World War II combined, invasions of countries like Cambodia and Laos, heavy bombing of areas around the city of Hanoi in the north against the will of Congress. And so as the war progressed, Congress felt itself to have really its hands tied to be able to regulate the power of the presidency in making war. And so as a result of that, Congress passed the War Powers Resolution designed to limit the war-making powers of the executive branch in a time of war, in a time in which Congress has passed a resolution but hasn't declared war. Well, the factoid for this week is this. Because of the controversy surrounding the conflict in Yemen and the United States' involvement in the conflict in Yemen, the U.S. Congress has invoked the War Powers Resolution in an attempt to limit the ability of the executive branch to facilitate the making of war in Yemen, which of course is witnessing a horrible humanitarian crisis right now, with millions of people on the brink of horrible disease and starvation and malnourishment as a result of that war. And so the factoid for this week is the War Powers Resolution, which was developed in 1973, designed to give Congress more power to limit the executive branch's ability to make war in a case of a conflict in which Congress had not declared war. The War Powers Resolution has been invoked by the U.S. Senate in its effort to control the United States' involvement in facilitating the war in Yemen. Let's have a great week, everybody. I hope everyone's had a great time in this class, by the way. I've really enjoyed having you in this class. I hope you found the subject interesting, and I hope you enjoyed some of the videos that I had for you in class. And I hope to see you in another one of my classes in the future. And I hope you learned something from this class, and I hope you found it something really enjoyable. So let's have a great week. I look forward to getting your factoids. I'll see you in the discussion forum, and I'll get that test up to go by Wednesday night. So let's have a great week, and I look forward to seeing your projects, everyone.